Time for another chance to win $1,000 just by texting the word dime. He dropped a dime. Text that to 95819. And thank you to WeatherTight Roofing for helping us make this happen on Prater in the Ballgame. Let's welcome in our video audience on the KTIK YouTube channel. Nice to have you guys with us. And we're getting back in the groove, getting on YouTube and pumping up this channel. So we like that, Prater. But what we don't like right now, and Bronco Nation certainly doesn't, is its record against power opponents since the NIL era was established. And I remember being with you July 1st, 2021, when we said on this show, college football will never, ever, ever be the same again. It hasn't. And we wondered, where will Boise State fit in this new world of college football? Well, they're 0-7 in these opportunities, and maybe you can slice and dice each game differently, and it has its own reason, but we want to know what that is. And 208-424-9300, let's line them up. I see you calling already on the Taco Bell hotline. We want to know if NIL has damaged Boise State's national brand to be able to go beat these teams. And Prater, you wrote columns on this. You were very, very outspoken on Bronco game night on this issue, and we wanted to take this on. If it's not NIL to blame, then what is? We got polls up. Fire away, partner.
Yeah, it could be coaching. It could be players. All that's a direct result of NIL. It could be whatever you guys want it to be. Let us know what you think it is here. You're going to hear from Spencer Danielson and Eric Chenander in this segment on this topic based on what they have to say about the NIL and their perspective. Boise State is really good at the NIL game at the group of five level, at the Boise State level. I think that they've done a decent job. It got off to a little bit of a slow start, but I don't think it had anything to do with the university and everything to do with kind of an old-fashioned community that was like, what? I have to start paying the players? And I think the traction was a year or two slow, but that's been the case in many, many college campuses and college athletic programs. So I don't think that that's on Boise State. And again, Boise State has done a nice job of the NIL, but they haven't been difference makers in the NIL. I'm not even sure they're group of five leaders. Those results and that kind of information is really hard to get. I'm going to guess, based on what little bit of information Spencer Danielson has given us, that Boise State's NIL budget is somewhere between $4 and $5 million. I believe he told us last year it was right around 3. Let's just assume they're trying to grow it. He eventually said he wanted to get to 5, but he said the process is never over. So I think they're probably right around 4 or 5, and they're splitting that up between 110 players because Spencer Danielson is incredibly loyal, and he is incredibly proud of a developmental program. So he's not giving the 18-year-old $1 million to come to Boise State. He's not buying players, and for that we salute you. But at the same time, he's given the third string offensive lineman a couple of $1,000 just because he's been good at practice and he's loyal and blah, 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 blah here. I don't know if Boise State's ever had an NIL star. I don't know if they've ever had a poster boy. And I suggested on Bronco game night, if you went out and shopped for $1 million quarterback and proudly promoted that, like every program out there, if you get $1 million quarterback, you're going to put that out there for the world to see. We're spending money and we're spending money on quarterbacks.
Yep.
That could backfire. That could go wrong. And I'm not saying come in to start. I'm saying come in to compete with Maddox Madsen and whatever recruits they bring in this offseason just to kind of get the ball rolling. It's okay for Spencer Danielson to have a developmental program and be loyal to his roster and retain his roster and give everybody a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. But that's not going to go out and beat you the Notre Dames of the world. I think the Notre Dame game exposed a bigger problem, and a Boise State team that has been so resilient when it comes to beating Power 4 teams, I'm not sure that that's going to happen anymore.
One of the things that I kind of take from this is that the Boise State way of doing business, where they retain a lot of their players, as Prater talks about, they develop players, that's all well and good, and that's going to help you compete in the Mountain West, and it may even in the right year help you get that G5 auto bids at the CFP. But in these games, I just think that there's a ceiling, right? And we're seeing that ceiling of if you don't have the proper NIL resources in place, then you can do all the other things right and develop players and retain players and even recruit well at the high school level. But it might not, it's just going to cap your ceiling a little bit lower than you'd like it. And we're asking the question, how do you make that ceiling higher?
I mean, do you exactly? I mean, is this to the point? I mean, where it's just different levels now, and there are the powers that are going to have this money, and they're going to go and do that, and there are the group of 5 schools that just won't. I mean, Boise State, for its level, I think can and should beat any other team in the G5. I really do. I think if you put them in the American, I would expect and think that they could win that league more than any other team in it, but that doesn't feel like it's the case right now. And Spencer Danielson is so loyal, and I love him for it. But at the same time, sitting there and saying, "Hey, I will start Maddox Madsen basically under all circumstances. I don't want to hear it. He's our guy and whatnot moving forward." We love the doggy.
Yeah, we're going to do that segment of 520 a little bit separate in terms of what Spencer Danielson said today about Maddox Madsen and following up on his comments from the post game on Saturday about Maddox Madsen always will be our quarterback. But again, more comments from Spencer. I thought Saturday really exposed it, and football comes down to dudes versus dudes.
It does.
It really, truly does, man. It
does.
It's dudes versus dudes, and I think Boise State was very, very glaring in this game. They just could not match dudes versus dudes.
No.
And that's not going to get better. That's not going to get better. The average scoring margin in these 7 Power 4 games that Boise State's played is 35-18. So they're not only getting beat, they're getting beat up hard. 5 of the 7 games have been decided by double digits. Yes, Oregon was an outlier last year. I think we can thank Ashton Genty for that. I think we can thank Ashton Genty for covering up a lot of issues. What was the other close game? The other close game was the Oklahoma State game here in Boise, which really came down to one play, and a lot of people think that Boise State won that game. But look at that Oklahoma State game. That was Oklahoma State. Maybe it wasn't their best team, but it was a good team. And Boise State was able to hang with them. Boise State couldn't hang with Notre Dame. They almost had to play a perfect game. Nobody plays perfect games anymore. I think the gap between Oklahoma State against P5s and the gap what we saw on Saturday, I think that gap has changed, and I think it's grown a lot, and it's very, very alarming for me.
Yeah, and if you're a Boise State fan, I mean, the one thing you've hung your hat on is, hey, we can play with them. Not only can we, but we can beat them because we have. And when you have example A, B, C, D, and F of when we've done that, and you don't anymore. And there's this new system where it's professional football. Let's get to Baker. He's holding on the Taco Bell hotline. Keep these coming, guys. Your thoughts. Has NIL damaged Boise State's national brand? Has it furthered the gap between Boise State and, for example, Notre Dame on Saturday? Baker, you're up. What you got, bud?
First of all, once in a lifetime trip. That was such an incredible experience being on that campus and seeing all that tradition. And it reminded me a lot of getting to go to Fenway Park and Yankee Stadium. Those are the closest comparisons that I have, where you just feel like you're stepping foot in a sacred space. Prater, such a great poll question. You probably should have had an all of the above option available to those of us who like that kind of cop out. But I want to take a little bit of a different angle on it, which is to say that what NIL has done is created maximum parity because everybody has cool stuff. Everybody has an indoor facility. Everybody has a football complex and locker rooms and fancy gadgets. The teams that have set themselves up for the new era of college football are the ones that you're going to see not only be successful now, but in the near term. And those are schools like Oregon. Oregon is set up perfectly to succeed in the new world, not just because they're spending a bunch of money, but because they've done all these other things. Program like Texas Tech is set up to be very successful in the future. Other programs that we think of traditionally that were really good are way behind. Even a program like Michigan, I think they're really going to struggle moving forward. I think a program like USC with all the money in the world is going to struggle because they didn't adapt. That's where I think Boise State needs to go. When we were winning big games, when we were going toe-to-toe with teams that had better talent than we had, we found an edge someplace. When Chris Peterson was here, it was in coaching. When Brian Harsin was here, it was in other aspects. I think coaching to some extent too. I don't know where we differentiate ourselves in the current place and time. I feel like we kind of copy, beg, borrow, steal from everybody else. We need to innovate if we want to compete because we are never going to have an Uncle Phil type to provide us cash. We're never going to have the type of alumni base that Notre Dame has to compete. So we have to figure out what the angle is that allows us to go into those games and say, okay, we don't have all these other things, but here's what we do have. Let's go. And my biggest problem with Saturday was we lined up 11 on 11 and thought we could beat Notre Dame. We didn't have a scheme. We didn't do anything to try to find an edge or advantage any place on the field. We just said, this is what we do. We believe in it. We believe in our guys, blah, blah, blah. Lined up, and we got our butts kicked because they had better players than we had. Plain and simple. So I'm hoping that athletic department can start to innovate around what we can do differently from other programs to try to keep us in competition. I don't expect us to win every one of those games. I do expect us to be in the game in the fourth quarter. If we are Boise State, if we're the team we think we are and the team that fans say that we are, the program we say we are, we should be in every single game we play with any football team in the country. I really believe that. So I'm hoping that we can move to that place.
All right, appreciate it. Way to set the tone, Baker. Hell of a call right there. Here's what Spencer Danielson said, I don't know, just a few hours ago on his Monday press conference when he was asked about NIL resources that are available for Boise State football.
To me, I see it like this. It's 2025, and it's my job as a head coach to recruit, to retain. That's a huge part for me, retaining our best players and give ourselves the best opportunity to win every single game we play. Not kind of try to win a little bit. And then, no, we have to retain and recruit a roster to win every single game we play in. Period. End of story. And I believe this year we have absolutely enough. I believe we had enough to beat South Florida. We didn't. That's on me. I believe we had enough to beat Notre Dame. We didn't. That's on me. And I believe we have enough to win the rest of our games. I'm not saying we will or won't. That's still up for us to continue to show. But I do believe and know in the future we have to continue to grow in the NIL space. But I believe in Jeremiah Dickey more than anybody in the country, man. I believe we have the absolute best athletic director that is already looking for ways to continue to grow in this space to where we can support our players. But everything for me is going to be about retaining our best players, and then the players we do recruit have to fit here and have to be about this team. And do they want to come and have their life changed and be a part of a different program? But I believe we have enough. There is absolutely, and I'm not saying that because that's the right, like there's no excuse. We went into South Florida and I believed every bit of my soul we are going to win this football game. We go to Notre Dame. There was not a doubt in my mind we're going to find a way to win. I didn't know how, but I was like, we're going to find a way because we don't need to beat them 10 times. We need to beat them once. And we didn't. And that's never going to be an excuse. But going forward, I believe in this place. I believe I have the best job in the country. And I believe we're going to continue to grow in this NIL space, and we need to retain our players, to continue to find the right ones that fit here. We need to, and I believe we will.
I love Spencer. It's not the best job in the country, but I mean, for him, maybe it is. But
the roster retention to me is very, very important, but it's only 80% of it. And I'm afraid that Spencer Danielson focuses on 100% of roster retention, where I want to be proactive in terms of bringing in guys.
Yes.
And again, there's a risk reward there. There's always a risk reward in an investment of whether you're buying a car or a football player. There's a risk reward in terms of getting your ROI. And he said retention 9 times in that answer. Maybe not 9 times, but plenty of times, because that's his focus, and that should be his focus: development and roster retention. But give me 10% of the poster boy, of the headline guy, of the Arch Mannings of the world, and I don't care if he fails. I just want to see Boise State at least try.
All right, Eric Shenander, defensive coordinator, and I asked this question in the presser today just because I know his background. He's been at power schools. He's been in the NFL. He knows the price on the muscle. He knows the difference in talent. And we asked Eric Shenander, who's been with these programs, what his perspective is, the NIL gap between the P4 and the G6, according to the DC Eric Shenander.
You're talking apples and oranges when you're talking about payrolls, right? But listen, I told our guys, like, we coaches and players the same. We didn't come to Boise State to be in these games. We came to Boise State to win these games. We just have to be who we are. And who we are is we are going to develop players. Now, NIL, we have to retain our players, but we've got to be the best developers in the country. And that's the secret sauce for Boise State. Is there separation around the country? I think at a lot of places, but at Boise State, we've got enough. We've got enough talent. We just got to be ultra dedicated to developing that talent and we've got to continue to always be progressive in how we're doing that, how we're finding players, how we're recruiting players. Can we keep them here? Can we develop them? So there probably is, to answer your question, but that's never going to be an excuse at Boise State.
All right, so it's not going to be an excuse, but if it is the way it is, if it's the truth, then I think you're SOL on some stuff.
Again, he talked about roster development and retaining players, but he also said we also have to be proactive enough to go off and look, and whatever he said there toward the end. That's the little 3-second piece of nugget that I'm sticking my hands on there, is just go out and try something different. Don't be just focusing on retaining your players. You got to go out there and spend a little bit of money. I know Boise State doesn't have a lot of money, but they're raising as much money as they possibly can. If they want to be a national brand, they're going to have to take some chances.
Yeah, all right, let's get to the quarterback and Maddox Madsen. And, Prater saying he wants to see this program, this fan base, this town go out and spend $1 million on a quarterback. Find a guy, seek him out, court him, put a package together, parade him into town, just like you would do when an NFL team drafts a quarterback in the first round. The same mentality. What do you think on that? 208-424-9300. Appreciate our YouTube TV audience or our YouTube channel audience. We'll catch you back with our radio audience on the other side of the break.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studio, this is Ticket